you're at all familiar with MOZA Racing and their current lineup of products, you may take one look at the R12 and wonder what exactly is new. I mean, it looks very similar to other MOZA products that we've seen before, and the headline figure of 12 Nm of peak torque isn't too far away from the 9 Nm of the R9 or the 16 Nm of the R16. So you may be wondering, why would I look at the R12 and think this is the wheel for me? Well, as it turns out, I think the R12 may actually be the best pick of the bunch if you're looking to take the leap into MOZA's ecosystem. In this review, I'm going to look at the design, compatibility, and most importantly, the performance of this new R12 wheelbase. But before I go any further, I do want to disclose that this R12 base was sent to me for review by the guys at MOZA, and with all of my reviews, this does not impact the outcome in any way. I'm going to start by looking at the price of this wheel, as this is important to further nail down exactly where this wheelbase compares to other MOZA wheelbases and others that are available from different brands. So the MOZA R12 slots in directly between the R9 and R16 as expected, at around €600 or dollars. This is a price difference to the R9 of around $100, which is a relatively small increase considering the extra performance and compatibility you get from the R12. Next, I'm going to take a look at the design of the R12, and this may be one of the quickest design reviews I've ever done, and that is because I've already reviewed the design of this wheelbase in a previous video. If you go ahead and check out our MOZA R9 review, you'll see everything that I'm about to say here, and that's because this R12 wheelbase looks, well, pretty much identical to the R9, with a few very minor tweaks here and there. For those who haven't seen our MOZA R9 review, I won't make you go and watch another video, don't worry. I'll run through the design and what I like and don't like right here. The overall design itself is very smart and looks clean and modern, although at this stage this design may be getting a little bit old. This is the third MOZA wheelbase that is utilising the exact same design philosophy. Both the R9 and R5 wheelbases implement this design, so it would have been a little bit nicer to see a bit of design flair here and there, maybe something that makes this R12 wheelbase stand out from the crowd a little. As an example, take a look at what Fanatec did with the CSL DD and GT DD Pro. While both wheelbases use the same overall shape and form, both look distinctly different. This works to allow both products to stand out and become their own entity, despite at their core being almost identical. Whatever the next MOZA wheelbase is after this R12, it would be nice to see a little bit of extra design flair. But getting back to the actual design of this R12, the exterior is constructed from black powder coated aluminium. This acts as both a sturdy outer casing and a heatsink to help dissipate internal temperature. This outer casing looks incredibly smart, and it makes the wheelbase feel pretty premium compared to some of the others that are around. To further aid with this thermal dissipation, there are some cool fins and grooves on the side with the MOZA logo printed on them. This is a really nice, subtle design choice that showcases the branding but doesn't throw it in your face. The rest of the wheelbase follows this smart and understated appearance. There's a rounded feel to the outer case which can be seen predominantly across the top, which kind of hints to the shape of the large motor that's hidden beneath this exterior case. Each corner raises up away from this circular design to form a relatively square, boxy shape, although with the dips and creases throughout, the wheelbase does cut a rather sleek and attractive frame. Protruding out of the wheelbase is an aluminium drive shaft that houses the quick release, and this is where this wheelbase does stand out a lot from the competition. If for some reason you like to collect MOZA wheelbases, or this is an upgrade over the R5 or R9, you will spot some subtle design changes from the R9. The wheelbase is ever so slightly longer despite maintaining the same overall profile and shape. There's a little R12 graphic on the side just to remind you which wheelbase you have in case you forget, and the drive shaft and quick release are marginally smaller in diameter and length than the one on the R9. And talking about that quick release, MOZA's implementation of a quick release is without a doubt one of the best around. It follows an NRG style which features interconnecting ball bearings to lock the steering wheel into place. This allows any MOZA steering wheel to quickly be attached just by pushing it onto your wheelbase. Once in place, there is zero movement or flex. And this is crucial for a sim racing quick release. If you have even just a little bit of movement or play between steering wheel and wheelbase, it can cause havoc during use. You can sometimes feel the steering wheel actually moving independently of the wheelbase, and it can put additional strain on the quick release mechanism itself. So I'm really happy to say that this is absolutely not a problem with the MOZA quick release. If you want to detach your steering wheel, there's an activator behind the steering wheel which you simply pull towards you, and then you can simultaneously pull the whole wheel away from the base. Some steering wheel designs make this a little harder, as you do have to wrap both hands around the steering wheel, but generally this is super quick and easy to perform. Next, I'm going to move on and look at the performance during use, because this is where the wheelbase needs to set itself apart. Now I'm going to throw some terms out there that are pretty techy, that some of you may understand and love, but being honest, most of this stuff goes over my head. The motor inside the R12 is designed with a high slot fill rate, high permeability magnetic cores, and high strength neodymium magnets. It features a 16 pole high slot design, which features the highest number of poles in its class. Now I mean, I'm not a tech guy, but class leading pole count, that sounds pretty impressive. High permeability magnetic cores, also very impressive. I mean, I have no idea what half of this stuff does from a technical standpoint, but one thing I do know is how a motor performs, and I have to say this one performs pretty damn well. So the first thing I noticed when jumping into a race session with the R12 was the extremely low latency. The force feedback felt incredibly responsive and direct. The instant something happened on track, whether that was hitting a curb, riding a bump, or shifting the car's weight balance, I felt it through the wheel. This is possibly the fastest response time I've felt from any MOZA racing wheel so far, so I have to say I was pretty impressed. One of the key things that a racing wheel does is provide you with real-time feedback on what's happening in your sim, and the faster you feel that feedback, the quicker you can react to it. This ultra-fast response lets you drive with confidence that you're feeling the car at that exact moment. You can then make precise inputs to continue to attack the track. Another thing that I noticed, other than the response times and the impressive force feedback strength, is just how smooth everything was. The force feedback has almost no granularity to it at all, allowing the steering wheel to glide through its rotation with ease. Equally impressive is the feeling of weight transfer. The way the steering wheel pulls at you as you ride undulations and shift your car's weight balance from side to side is really nice. One thing I wasn't quite so keen on was the slightly sticky feeling that can sometimes plague some MOZA racing wheels. I mentioned it in my R9 review, and it is back again with the R12. When I say sticky, I'm talking about the damping and how it adds weight and resistance to your wheel. With the default and recommended MOZA settings, you'll notice how the steering wheel just feels slightly too slow or sticky when turning. Now you can spend some time tuning this out using the wide range of settings in Pit House, but it does make me feel like I may be missing some ultimate performance by lowering and raising some of the settings a little bit further than I'd usually like to. One area of the force feedback where the MOZA R12 really excels is in its handling of vibrations and rumbles. Many sim racing wheels don't handle vibrations such as ABS vibration or riding on the curbs overly well. You either won't feel them at all, or they'll shake your sim rig to absolute bits. There's very few racing wheels that actually handle rumbles well, and I'm glad to say the MOZA R12 is one of those. In Assetto Corsa Competizione, for example, if you turn the steering wheel too much and start to understeer, the wheelbase will start to rumble, and this rumble will be sent through your entire rig, in a good way. You can feel this effect in your seats and pedals, almost as if you were running a butt kicker setup. This happens as well when you ride over curbs and any other time where you trigger this rumble effect. This rumbling sensation isn't present to this degree in any of MOZA's other racing wheels, and is a part of the force feedback that is handled incredibly well in the R12. Now, I do want to touch on the strength of this wheel, because really this is one of the key differentiators from the R9 wheelbase. And it's great to report that at 12 Nm of peak torque, this wheelbase feels just right. I often say that 10 to 12 Newton meters really is the Goldilocks zone when it comes to direct drive force feedback. Often at times when racing with the R9, I did fancy just a little bit extra oomph from my wheel. The 9 Newton meters of the R9 feels great in longer races and will be spot on for many sim racers, but it does sit just below my force feedback strength preference, and this R12 wheelbase corrects that, while simultaneously nailing the perfect amount of force feedback strength. This is the main reason why I do honestly think that the MOZA R12 will surpass the R9 as the most popular MOZA wheelbase in the coming weeks and months. I did mention just now about the Pit House software when talking about the damping of this wheel, and this is the free piece of software that is available to use with all MOZA wheels and products. It lets you really delve into and customize the performance and output of your MOZA wheel, and I would highly suggest doing so. As I said, the R12 suffers a little bit from the default settings and does require a bit of tuning to really get it singing. And those who like to tune their cars and sim racing products will be in heaven with Pit House. It features more settings that can be tweaked and adjusted than any other sim racing software I've used, and that's both to its benefit and detriment. It allows those who love to tinker the freedom to really create the perfect force feedback configuration, but it can be overwhelming to those who aren't as keen. I mean, even the basic settings include a fair number of different settings that can be configured. Thankfully, you can import settings, so if messing around with your wheelbase isn't your thing, then you can always import some settings from your favourite content creator. Compatibility with other MOZA products is excellent. This is one area where the new R12 has stepped up the game. Previous generation wheelbases haven't all been compatible with every steering wheel that MOZA offered. This led to a little bit of confusion, such as can you use a GS wheel with an R5 wheelbase or an ES steering wheel with an R16 wheelbase? Thankfully, that confusion is gone. You can use any MOZA steering wheel with this wheel with no problem. You can also use steering wheel rims from different brands with this product thanks to the MOZA quick release adapter. This adapter allows you to attach almost any wheel rim to this wheel, so you can start to use other brands' products with this wheelbase, which is great. But it is worth noting, however, that some of the wheel rim functionality may not fully function due to no data transfer from third-party wheel rims to the wheelbase. This isn't a problem if you're using a hardwired wheel rim like those from Cube Controls, but if you're trying to use like a Fanatec wheel, which normally transfers the data via the quick release, the buttons and inputs just simply won't work. And while we're talking about products from other brands, it is important to say that the R12 can be used with any pedal set, any shifter and handbrake from any sim racing brand. All of these peripherals can be connected directly to your PC, allowing you to add this wheelbase pretty seamlessly into your existing sim racing setup, as long as you're on PC. If you are racing on console, however, unfortunately MOZA still doesn't support this. There's no Xbox or PS5 compatibility with the R12 or any other MOZA product currently, which is something I'm hoping will change soon. And the final improvement for compatibility that MOZA has made with the R12 is the additional ports on the rear of the base. Some previous MOZA wheels have lacked connections for pedals and other peripherals. On the R12, however, you have connection ports for everything, meaning you can connect all peripherals to this wheelbase and run a single USB cable to your PC. There are 5 connections for peripherals, including a port for your pedals, your shifter, your handbrake, your dashboard and your emergency stop. This is a big improvement and one that I'm glad to see has been implemented. So that leads me on to the big question of should you consider this wheelbase? And the answer is if you currently own either a MOZA R9 or the R16, then you could probably give the R12 a miss. It performs incredibly well within its performance range, however it isn't different enough from either the R9 or the R16 to warrant an upgrade. If on the other hand you don't currently own a MOZA wheelbase, and you are looking at entering the MOZA ecosystem, the R12 is the wheelbase that I would almost always recommend now. The MOZA ecosystem is quickly becoming one of the most impressive product ranges within sim racing, with a growing number of steering wheels, wheelbases, and other accessories already available. and the MOZA R12 sits right in that sweet spot of direct drive performance. This is a product that iterates on MOZA's current formula, but I reckon will quickly become their best seller in the coming months, and for good reason.